nice harmony there.
Let's join together in singing Surely the Presence. It's so good to see all of you here this morning. Come on, let's do our thing. Let's do it. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I hear glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Join together with me in prayer, taking a big breath together, coming into this now moment. Holy, wonderful, magical mystery. We just are full of gratitude in this moment for being here, for being able to freely worship. And we ask for courage to look into the dark corners of our own inner kingdom, for curiosity about what we find, and for compassion for anything that's there in ourselves or anyone else. And so it is. You can be seated.
All right.
Unless the music tells you otherwise.
You might want to get up for this one. I'm going to talk a little bit. This song came, I've always loved this song, and walking around the house after my parents passed, the house was so quiet, and I kept hearing, testify to love, testify to love. And so I said, I need to learn that, so here we go. All the colors of the rainbow, all the voices of the wind, every dream that reaches out to find where love begins. Every word of every story, every star in every sky, every corner of creation lives to testify. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. Be a witness in your silences when words are not enough. And with every breath I take, we'll give thanks to God above. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. From the mountains to the valleys, from the rivers to the seas, every hand that reaches out, every hand that reaches out to offer peace, every simple act of mercy, every step to kingdom kingdom come. All the hope in every heart will speak what love has done. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. Be a witness in the silences, but words are not enough. And with every breath I take, we'll give thanks to God above. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. I will testify to love. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. Be a witness in the silences, but words are not enough. And with every breath I take, we'll give thanks to God above. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. I will testify to love. As long as I shall live, I will testify to love. Be a witness in the silences when words are not enough. And with every breath I take, we'll give thanks to God above. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. Thank you. Thank you. I guess it's perfect that we laugh at the end.
And we have a real drummer today. Let's see. Mr. Steve is back in the house. With thanks to Christine, of course, who's been doing percussion for us for weeks and months and months. But it is good to have a drummer. In fact, he's keeping me on my toes because we could sway a little bit without a drummer. Kind of like that last song, we could have swayed towards the ending and made it work. But with a drummer, you're like, nope, you got to be there. You got to be on time. You got to be right on the moment, and it's good. You're elevating us all, Steve.
I'm very vertical.
We're gonna do a little bit of Ziggy Marley for you. Life has come a long way since yesterday. I say it's not the same old thing over again. I say just do what you feel and don't fool yourself. I say 'cause I can't make you happy unless I am. I say all together, got to be true to myself. Got to be true to myself. Let me hear you singing. Got to be true to myself. Got to be true to myself. Day in, day out, I've asked many questions, and I say only to find the truth, it never changes. And I say, if you don't deal with it, it keeps killing you little by little. I say, call me selfish if you will, my life alone I can live. I say that I've got to be true to myself. Yes, I've got to be true to myself. Got to be true to myself. Got to be true to myself. Take it, somebody. care if it hurts. I'm tired of the lies and all these games. Reached a point in life, hey, no longer can I be this way. Don't come crying to me, I too have shed many tears. I'm moving on, yes, I'm grooving on. Hey, we're finally free to. Got to be true to myself. Yes, I've got to be true to myself. Let me hear you singing. Got to be true to myself. 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 Point to yourself. Got to be true to myself. Got to be true to myself. Myself. Got to be true to myself. I say I've got to be true to myself. 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 One more time. Got to be true to myself. Got to be true to myself.
Thank you, Brian and the band, and thank you, Stephanie, for showing up for a second consecutive week. Can't have too much of a good thing, so thank you. I am Stan Roble, and I would like to take a moment to welcome anyone who is here for the first time with the welcome packet. We have, Mark has them right here. I see a lot of familiar faces, which is makes me very happy to see some faces we haven't seen in a very long time. So we're glad that you're here. You make Unity what it is. Apparently no one new today, so thank you. Let's take a moment and wave hi to our streamers. We live stream every Sunday service and can watch it later on YouTube. Audio of the talks are available on various podcasts platforms. Just search for Unity on the River Sunday Sermons. So Unity is a center of celebration, transformation, inspiration, spirit-centeredness, oneness, and joy. Please hold these truths in your heart as we say our vision for ourselves and the world together. We are a vibrant spiritual community that celebrates the presence in all and awakens humanity to its divinity. And now our mission statement, centered in love, we joyously co-create a world of oneness, peace, and harmony. So thank you all very much.
And now it's time, if you want to get up and acknowledge each other, and you do a little bow, you can, if you want. We already acknowledged you, Steve. A little bit of namaste. Well, you can tell more people are attending because that namaste was twice as long as it's been. It's a good sign. All right, before we get Stephanie up here, we're going to do another song. This is one of the only ones you mentioned, right? So. I'll give it my best Cat Stevens try here. 'Cause I'm being followed by a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow, leaping and hopping on a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. And if I ever lose my hands, lose my plow or lose my land, if I ever lose my hands away, I won't have to work no more. If I ever lose my eyes, if all my colors all run dry, if I ever lose my eyes away, I won't have to cry no more. 'Cause I'm being followed by a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow, leaping and hopping on a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. If I ever lose my legs, I won't moan and I won't beg. 'Cause if I ever lose my legs, I won't have to walk no more. If I ever lose my mouth, all my teeth, north and south, 'cause if I ever lose my mouth away, I won't have to talk no. I'm being followed by a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow, leaping and hopping on a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. Well, I don't know. Stan, was this you or me? I could. Well, I want to introduce our speaker for today. It's someone we haven't seen in a long while. It's been 6 days and 23 hours. And, but I'm really glad that she's back because it was really refreshing last week. Thank you for that. And part 1 without part 2, where would we be? So let's welcome back Stephanie Roy.
It is so good to be here again. I want to really thank the band. I don't know a lot of music, but I said to Brian, I said, my topic is projection and the shadow, and the only thing I can think of is moon shadow. So he did a great job with that. But the other ones are absolutely just trusted spirit would get the right ones. Testify about love. I mean, we're actually just called to tell each other what's been our experience. Not, it says you're going to be witnesses. What does a witness do? It testifies. So we tell each other how it is. And then what was the other song that you just said? Oh, gotta be true to myself. Now, we talked last week a little bit about the mature characteristics of love, which are all in 1 Corinthians 13. And the immature characteristics of love are just the opposite. All that means is that it's young. So being true to yourself, being centered in the self, is very different than being self-centered. Children are naturally self-centered, little s self, right? But adults are centered in the self. So I loved the music that was chosen for today. So thank you, music team. So give them another hand. The other thing I wanted to do was apologize to the Zoomers from last week because I said I would repeat. We did a question and answer period, and I said I would repeat what was said in the congregation, and then I only didn't. I did it like twice and then I forgot. So if we have time for question and answers or discussion period, actually question and answers is better than discussion. We have a handheld mic ready, so we'll take care of that. Now, the overarching context of these two talks on the puzzle of perception is this. What gets in the way of loving each other? If I truly believe that there's no spot where God is not, why am I having trouble with certain spots? Right? If it's all God. So that's what we're looking at. And they all came out in P's. I apologize if people don't appreciate alliteration, but it came out as parallax, paradox. We didn't talk about polarities, but paradox and paradoxes and polarities are similar. They're like cousins. And then today we're going to talk about projection, which is one of my favorite topics. So I'm going to recap just a little bit if anybody wasn't here last week. And I want to start with a Rumi, one of my favorite Rumis, that it's very familiar to all of you. And this is, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too big to talk about. Ideas, language, even the words each other doesn't make any sense. So a big part of what I know gets in the way of my loving anyone is judgment. And looking at these 4 P's, parallax, paradox, polarities, and projection, are what mostly gets in my way. That's what contributes to my judgment. So quickly on parallax. Parallax is the illusion of the size, the apparent size of an object, depending on your point of view. And the best, I think I used the wind turbines as one of the examples. You can, depending on where you're standing, one blade can look this big, the others can look this big. Another awesome one is hundreds of years ago, men stood on the prow of a ship and they saw a straight line. And they thought that the world was flat. But then you've ever stood either at a higher altitude and you've actually been able to see the arc of the world, depending on how much visibility you have. You see it's an arc, it's not a straight line. If you get to the moon, you see it's a circle. It's not an arc or a line. So what you see is not always what there is to see. But we tend to be egocentric, ethnocentric, self-centered. This is the only spot that I can look at the world in. So there's nothing wrong with what I see or this spot. But I get into trouble when I think that what I see is all there is to see. Right? And so I was going to have you do this last week. We might do it this week. I've gotten into the habit for the first time in almost 70 years of saying, this is exactly what I think is true. I could be wrong. So say it with me. This is what I think is true. I could be wrong. This is what I've got so far. That little bit is kind of all we need to happily or passionately disagree with each other without being disagreeable. This is not at all. Unity is not about the same. Unity is not uniformity. Unity is all the different parts are part of one thing. All the different parts are part of one thing. That's real unity. Actually, a couple of years ago, the Android commercial said their little tagline was, "Be together, not the same." I thought that was brilliant. Okay? So parallax is thinking things that what you see is all there is to see. Paradox, and I use the illustration of a coin, are 2 apparently contradictory and opposite ideas that are simultaneously true. So what are some simple paradoxes that we don't even think about? Am I human? Am I divine? Human or divine? Which is it? The answer is yes, I'm both. Okay? Am I finite? Am I infinite? Yes, it's both. Let me just see. Oh, the scriptures, all the scriptures are full of these paradoxes that seem to be saying 2 things, but they're one thing. Jesus said, I come to bring peace. A few chapters later, I come to bring a sword. Right? You have a right brain and a left brain. They have very different jobs. How many brains do you have? One brain. So the closer we get, and this is where polarity comes in, the closer we get to anything even remotely that we could call truth with a capital T, I've heard it called ultimate reality. That's another term that's flying around these days. The closer we get to that, the more comfortable we have to be with paradox, with these things that look like they're opposite each other, but they're actually part of one thing, and they're not separate. I loved Eckhart Tolle when he said, he said, the opposite of death isn't life. He said, the opposite of death is birth. Death and birth and death and birth and death and birth. That's the life cycle. And life has no opposite because life is eternal. That makes sense? So is it death or is it life? Yes. So we'll make a lot more space for each other to talk about the things that we don't agree with if we understand that two separate things can both be true. In fact, I said this last week, but I really, I've been thinking about this more and more, of course, that most of the trouble that we've gotten into from the get-go, at least in the Christian story, the first argument over what was right and what was wrong with Cain and Abel, and that we have the first murder. Why? Because they disagreed about what God thought was the right offering, right? We haven't moved the needle that much. We're still killing each other because we disagree about what's right and wrong. And I want to remind you, I have to remember this all the time myself. I practice this all the time because I forget like that. I've not been asked to separate those piles, what's right and what's wrong. You can't get 6 people to agree on what goes in what pile. And I'd like to suggest to you, as I did last week, that it's possible we're trying to separate something that was not meant to be separated. That the fruit on that tree in the garden was the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, not the knowledge of good or evil. And actually what came to me was, what God has therefore joined together, let no man put asunder. When in Genesis 3, when we were escorted out of the garden, God said, the man and woman have become like one of us now, knowing good and evil. So there's something about knowing good and evil, but we've not been asked to sort that. And as far as I can tell, our sorting process has not been very good. From the dawn of history until today, we're still not sorting that out very good, but we haven't been asked to do that. We've only been asked to love each other, to be kind, to be respectful, to be forgiving, to be understanding, to be patient, to persevere, to not fail, to protect. That's what all of us have been asked to do in all 5 major religions. It comes out to, do unto others. So now I want to get to, and I'm going to quote, Ken Wilber. You guys know Ken Wilber. For decades, I've been following Ken Wilber for a long time. Almost everything he said made my brain hurt because he's just probably one of the most intelligent beings that's walked the planet in my lifetime. But a few years ago, I heard him on the radio say this. He said, I was going to start my timer so we can get to start. He said, we have to wake up, we have to grow up, we have to clean up, and we have to show up. And I'm like, Ken, why didn't you say that 30 years ago? So waking up is, we wake up to, we're all one. That's what, unity is awake to that there's only one of us, right? We have to grow up. We actually have to do our psychological work. We have to learn how to be mature. I've been sober for 32 years, so I know a lot about the 12 steps. The 12 steps for me was about finishing growing up. It was like how to act like a grown-up. So we have to grow up. What we're going to talk about today in projection is cleanup. Cleanup means doing your shadow work. But there's a lot out there today about shadow work. But I want to not talk about shadow work from the point of view of what's good about us and what's bad about us. I really want to talk about it from exactly the point of what you can see, perception, and what you can't see. When it's light, you can see. When it's dark, you can't. When it's shadowy, you can't see very well. And when it's dark, you can't see at all. There's 2 ways to be blind. You can be blind by having something wrong with your eyes, or you can be blind because it's pitch dark. right? So one of the ways that I get hooked almost all the time with my heart closing and going to judgment and blame and accusation and scorn and blah, 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 you know, I don't think I'm the only one, right? I get hooked by that because I'm projecting. So I'll bet everybody has had an experience with either family members or friends. You've got a friend that you love, and you've got another friend or family member that you love, but they can't stand each other. Right? Anybody? Head nodding? Okay. Why can't they stand each other? What's the first, what do you see that they don't see? Because they're alike. That's how projection works. Projection works like this. Anytime there's a part of ourselves, and here's how I understand it, that I'm afraid will not be loved, or I'm afraid will cause me to be rejected by the people I care about, I don't want to own that. So I put it behind me, I put it in my unconscious, but it doesn't disappear and it doesn't go away. Why? Because it's part of me. It's a part of me that I have banished. I've actually rejected that part. But whatever we disown, we project out into the world. And then, if it's my shadow projection, if it's a dark part of me, let's say it's let's say I had a lying, cheating dad, and I would, you know, I'm like pride myself on how honest and straightforward I am. If there's any part of me that actually fudges that, I don't want to own it. But if I see somebody out in front of me that is like that, it's like it'll go right up the side of me. So our shadow projection is the dark side that we can't own. We project it out there and we go to war with it. The golden projections, the wonderful parts of ourselves that we can't own, we project that out there and we fall in love with it. It's an attraction. In fact, that's one of the other paradoxes that I love is like attracts like, the law of attraction. Opposites attract. They're both true. So how do you know? What are the tells when you're having a hard time loving somebody? And one of the ways that I kind of check with myself, I go, well, I'm pretty sure God is not having a hard time loving that person, but I am. So I'm pretty sure the problem is not with God. So what are the tells for me? The tell for a projection is the charge you have on it, okay? There was a woman here last Sunday with Hildy. Where's Hildy? She's here. Yeah. Okay, okay, great, you're both here. So in the question and answer, what came up was this woman, her hot button was people who used exclusive language. But if you don't mind my saying, you immediately started to exclude Hildy. That's how that worked. Not excluded, but you know what I'm saying? That it was easy to judge Hildy because Hildy was using the old-fashioned language and not the new language about referring to God as he or him rather than he, she, it, or whatever the current acceptable language is. But that's how that works. And I said to you, I said, come next week because you'll hear me talk about this. So if you've got a big charge on it, if something's got you for more than 10 seconds, it's yours. It's yours. It's yours. Why don't you recognize it as yours? One of the reasons is it goes into the unconscious, and by definition, if it's in the unconscious, you cannot see it directly. The only way you can see it is with the projection. But projection does not go one-to-one. It's not like looking in a mirror. Projection goes just like a projection. Here's me, I'm the projector. When I put it out into the world, it's probably 30 or 40 times bigger than that, than what I have inside me, right? And we're also not projecting onto a flat, clear screen. It's like projecting onto a funhouse mirror. So I'll see things out there and I'll like, I would never do that. Really? I'm really working with that a lot. Like, really, you'd never do that? Now, let me use an example we can almost all probably identify with. And that is, let's say I look out there, hang on a minute, and I see a pedophile. And I say, how could anybody do that to a child? How could anybody do that? I would never do that. Now remember, I'm projecting out like this. And it's probably true that I and none of you would ever do that. But if I'm going to work with that, if I can feel the charge in me, and I'm going to work with that, and I'll give you some very specific things about how to use this, how to work with this later, I can say to myself, well, have I ever abused my authority? Have I ever taken advantage of my authority in a certain situation? Yeah, I have. Have I ever crossed anybody's physical boundaries? I was the single parent of 2 boys. I definitely crossed their boundaries periodically. I did. I have to just own that. So just because I might not be a pedophile doesn't mean some of those characteristics are not also in me. And I promise you that whatever you're judging out there, if you can find it in you, it'll be easier. It's not about what's going on out there doesn't matter, but it's easier for you to deal with it with your heart open rather than your heart closed. I was asked to give a talk on Good Friday a while ago. It was probably last year during COVID. And as I looked at that whole story, I realized that Jesus' message for the 3 years that he was in ministry was turn the other cheek, go the extra mile, forgive 70 times 7. But there was one group of people that he had no warm and fuzzies for, and that was the Pharisees and the teachers. Now, he was a teacher. He had his most harsh words for the other teachers. You can understand why, but he was not gentle with them. He called them whitewashed sepulchres. He called them a brood of vipers until Good Friday. And on Good Friday, he said something about them he had never said before. And I'm not sure why, but I think it has something to do with that was the day, and probably the night before, that for the first time, Jesus experienced a lot of things about being human, but I don't know that he had ever experienced extreme physical suffering. There's a strange verse in Hebrews 11 that says Jesus learned obedience through his suffering. And I'm like, Jesus learned obedience. Wasn't he God? How could he, that never made sense to me. But listen to what he says about this same group, Good Friday. Forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. They're like children. We're like children. So if we can start to really have the courage to look, and the gift of projection is, it's like having a mirror to look at the back of your head. You can't see the back of your own head unless you have a mirror. Actually, you need kind of 2 mirrors, right? Projection, the gift of projection, is it will show you any place inside that you have rejected for some reason or another. If you think it's going to be because you won't be loved, it'll be a dark shadow, a shadow projection. If you think it's something that couldn't possibly be true of you, it'll be a golden shadow. Like there's a lot of people who are, I'll just speak, there's a lot of women who have a hard time believing that they're intelligent. At least in my generation, we grew up in a generation where the men were just looked at like they had the brains and we had the cooking pots. But there's a lot of women who just think, I'm just not. So they can't own their own brilliance. But if a bright woman shows up in front of them, it's like, yeah. So they're projecting their own golden parts of themselves onto that person out there and then falling in love with it. You know who's in my golden shadow? Tom Brady. You know why? Because he has an amazing work ethic. And my story about myself has not been that. My father used to say, when I had an urge to clean, I would lie down until it passed. So I actually am not somebody who I don't mind working hard. I mind working unnecessarily. But there's something about the way Tom Brady goes about his job that I just thought, that's so wonderful. But as I worked with that golden shadow, I actually see there's a lot of that in me too, and I just need to own it. So I think I've covered everything. I wanted to quote Carl Jung, because the term shadow, especially in the psychological realm, and Carl Jung more than Freud. Freud was strictly looking at people at a human level. He did not take in the spirit level or the soul level. Jung absolutely not only took that point of view in, but he personally explored those realms. If you know anything about Carl Jung's history or background, what he did to explore his own interior world was amazing. But here's what he said: we don't become enlightened imagining beings of light. We become enlightened by making the darkness conscious. So if you want to learn how to love more out there, practice loving more in here. And the gift of projection is it is a light that will reflect back inside you. So I want to invite you not to be afraid of the shadows, not to be afraid of anything dark you find. That you want to, when you find a part that's been banished, welcome it back like the prodigal son. I did a talk, Meg and I actually went down to North Carolina and did a talk on the shadow. And the subtitle was Welcoming the Prodigals Home. And you're all familiar with the prodigal story. The father, rich father, his second-born son, that would be me, he said, Dad, can I have my inheritance early? I want to go out and make my way in the world. And the father said yes. And so he gives him the inheritance. The son goes out and parties and has a lot of friends, a lot of fun, a lot of drugs probably, and then blows it all. The friends disappear, the good times disappear, and he's in a pigsty, saying to himself, gosh, my father's servants have it better than me. I'm going to humble myself and go back. So he starts back, he's got a speech all ready for his dad, and his dad's been waiting, looking, and he's rejoiced when he finally sees his lost son, and he celebrates, and he wraps his son up in his arms, and he said, slay the fatted calf, let's have a party, right? And the older son, who's been home, responsible, doing all the work, his older son goes, what's, how come you're celebrating him? I'm here all along. And the father said, don't you know that everything that I have has always been yours? So what I ask the congregation is the same thing I'll ask you. Which son understood his father's love? What do you think? The one that left? Okay, anybody else? Both? Okay. I would say neither son. Because one thought he could lose it, and the other thought he had earned it. We can't earn love. We can't lose love because we are love. That's what we're waking up to and remembering and learning. I don't think there's anything really wrong. Like, what if we could start to practice being out beyond the ideas of right doing and wrongdoing? We get so caught up in the right doing and wrongdoing. And we haven't gotten it right. We haven't gotten it. It's like, what if we're still just on the, you could say, arc or spiral of developmental consciousness, of human consciousness? Human consciousness, I don't think, is an arc. I do think it's a spiral. And what if we really are children? Puppies, kittens. Like, what if that's where we are? We're really supposed to love each other. And part of the learning process is what gets in our way? What gets in our way? If we're love, how come we're acting like this? It's because we project, because we think that what we see is what it is, right? We believe our own stories. So I want to really invite you to play with this projection piece. Notice what the charge is. The other tell is blame. If you're blaming, you're probably projecting. Again, I go back to the Garden of Eden. Adam, did you eat that fruit I told you not to eat? The woman that you gave me, blame. That's how you know how young Adam is. Yeah, now, some of you know familiar with Pia Melody, who is Pia Melody has done so much work on codependence and addiction, but she said something that has stayed with me. She said, children blame and take blame. Adults problem solve. So if you're caught in blaming, and that's me almost all the time, but I'm now compassionate with that. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm blaming. Of course I'm blaming. Why? Because I'm a kid. Children blame. But how do I want to be? I want to be like the big people, you know? When the serpent said, if you eat this fruit, you'll be like God. Who doesn't want to be like God? I mean, that was like, you know. So we come back. Hang on a second, I get so excited about this stuff. Oh, so when you get hooked, play with this idea that this is me. What about this is me? Because if you're having dinner out in the restaurant and you go in the restroom and you look in the mirror and you see spinach in your teeth, do you pick at the mirror? Will picking at the mirror change anything? Okay? You go to the movie theater and it's up on the screen and you don't like the movie. What do? Do you go up and start trying to change things on the screen? Because here's the thing. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. We don't just project when we're hooked. We are walking projectors. This is New Thought 101 is we are continually creating the world we experience, right? I say to people, where is the game of golf played? On the 5 inches between your 2 ears. Anybody who plays golf knows that that's true. The game of life is played in the exact same field. Your perception creates your world. That's why the same thing can happen and different people will have different experiences. Why? Because they're different people. So, what do you do? I'll close with getting close. What do you do when you see something that's in your shadow? Let's just say it's the dark shadow. You see something about yourself. You're willing to have the courage to take a look at the stuff, curiosity, to be curious about it rather than, judging. What do? You practice being compassionate with it, whatever you find. So the first thing you do is you tell the truth. Yep, that is me. I am a boundary crosser. Yep, I am a thief. Yep, I'm a cheat. I did one of the process therapy trainings I did. We spent one whole weekend on owning your inner killer. I have a murderer in me. Meg's beautiful song that she wrote for the millennium, Be at Peace. There's a stanza in there about owning the rapist in me. Like, what if we're really all of it, then we're really all of it. And if we could stop judging it and start being curious about it, I think that we end the war inside, we end the war outside. That's what Byron Katie says. That's the way she languages it. Peace inside, peace outside. So I know one of the most powerfully political things I can do is end the war inside myself, where I have made myself wrong, where I have, I'm practicing inner racism. There are parts of me that I say, you're not okay. When that energy in me is more integrated and whole, that radiates. We're all energy, right? That's what gurus who transmit enlightenment, it's energy. It's that same kind of thing. So if I can end the war inside myself, I have a better chance of ending the war around me. The other thing that I'm going to suggest that you do, and I tried this morning, put in 3-2-1 process, shadow process. The 3-2-1 shadow process is one that Ken Wilber came up with, and it's based on the of first person, second person, third person. If I can't own the trouble in me, if the trouble's not in me, then the trouble must be in you. So I move it out of my first person and I move it to you. The trouble is you, Cynthia. I just knew the trouble was you. But let's say Cynthia means something to me, and so I want her as my ally, then I'll say to Cynthia, the trouble is them. So I've moved it from me to her, first person, second person, and then now from second person to third person. It's not us, it's them. It's not us, it's them. That's where the trouble is. The 3-2-1 process just reverses that. And it's this very simple way. You can do it with another person or you can do it with a journal. It's super simple, but it helps to take whatever you find in your shadow and bring it back to you. So the gift of perfection is that it illuminates the places in you that are dark. Because here's what I know. When I did Jackie Woodside's conscious curriculum course, which I love, I did it Transcendence a few times, we were asked to make a mission statement. Here's my mission statement. I'm a happy member of the Wake Up team. I'm a happy member of the Wake Up team. But you know what I got even as I moved into that? There's only one person to wake up. Me. There's only one captive to set free. Me. There's only one sinner to forgive. Me. Where your captives are, what you can see and can't see, is that my business? No. Your journey is your business. My journey is my business. And when I give you the freedom to do and to be and to grow, the same way I give myself that freedom, there's a lot of space for disagreement. One of the favorite phrases that I got from Pia Melody is this: I have such a different idea about me than you do. I have such a different idea about that than you do. It's so respectful. And if we can do it without that, last week we did Hafiz, any thought that I am better or less than another man breaks the wine glass of God's love. I have such a different idea than you. It doesn't break the wine glass. It honors me, it honors you for being in a different place. The last caution I will give you, and this is in this line, when it comes to shadow work, I'm the one who cannot see my shadow. It's probably very evident to all of you. Don't try to help anybody see their shadow. Really, that's not your business. You will see it. You will think you're right. You might even be right, but don't help anybody unless they've asked you to help them. Because it's like our unconscious is like the Holy of Holies. And if I go tramping into your unconscious without an invitation, your natural healthy response will be to want to kill me. Right? So stay in your lane around this. So I'm just going to close again like I did last week with how I began. Out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field. I would love to meet you there. I'm practicing meeting me there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too big to talk about. All meditations, or all meditators, longtime meditators, talk about when you finally get to that kind of deep place, there's no words. People who've gone to the other side and come back, and they say, you all say the same thing. There just aren't words to describe it. When the soul lies down in that place, the world is too big to talk about. Ideas, language, even the term each other doesn't make any sense. Namaste. We're going to go now into a time of meditation. I invite you just to get comfortable in your own bodies. To close your eyes or leave them open, whatever is most comfortable for you. I invite you to be willing to look inside with curiosity, with courage, and with compassion. Bringing your attention now back to your breath. Back to your body. Feeling yourself being supported. Becoming aware of the other presences in the room. Celebrating the light and the shadow. The finite and the infinite. Continually awakening our humanity toward divinity.
There's a big old sound coming from the sky. Something you can't really analyze. Like a big old circle around the sun. There's a little old circle around everyone. Way down in the jungle, between the trees, deep in the desert, under the sea. Wind and the rain make a sacred sound. It's way out in the country, it's in the middle of town. Oh, sweet home. Home, right on. Oh, sweet home. Right on. Right on. Wait a minute, let's go outside. Open up your heart and let's pray for a while. Hear the world around you, let it all in. There ain't no beginning and there ain't no end. Om, sweet om. Om, right on. Om, sweet om. Right on. Right on. Om, sweet om. Om, right on. Om, sweet om. Right on. Right on. There's a big old sound coming from the sky. There's something that you can't really analyze. The sun goes down from dusk to dawn. He don't really care who he's shining upon. Om, sweet om. Om, right on. Om, sweet om. Right on. Right on. Om, sweet om. Om, right on. Om, sweet om.
Okay, now it's time to prepare our tithes and offerings. In your bulletin is an insert where you can scan the QR code for Venmo. You can also text GIVE to 833-702-4337 and fill out the form there and enter your information and give via text. That number is 833-702-4337. We give thanks in advance for all the ways you choose to invest in our spiritual community. So let's hold our offerings in our hands and in our hearts and connected with the truth of abundance as we say our affirmation. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Om, sweet Om. Om, right on. Om, sweet Om. Right on, right on. Om, sweet Om. Om, right on. Om, sweet Om. Right on, right on, right on, right on. While we're just finishing up that, I just wanted to send props out to Meg Rain, who's taking a week this week and being able to chill. And I had just pulled out. I got everything I need to be happy for this. As is the case sometimes, I didn't tell everyone else.
That's okay, we're thinking it.
Thank you so much for these generous gifts. We see them going out, circulating in all the places where they are most needed, where they will most be used. We see them multiplied and magnified, and so it is.
Some announcements. Next week, we'll have Shipley Allenson will be talking, so we're looking forward to that. After the service, we'll also be having a community meeting. I'm sure a lot of us, including myself, we all have questions about what's going to happen with this church, what's in process right now, and how are we doing it financially. So I'll be prepared to make a presentation on the financial part of things. Members of the board will be present to answer your questions, and just come prepared to look and listen and be faithful that our church will develop to a form much like it was before, once we get through all this pandemic things. So we're looking forward to that. We're also looking, as we grow, we are looking to for volunteers to help us out with running the service, running the Zoom. We still run the Zoom hospitality for the people who cannot show up in person. So we'd like to get that going and make that work for them as well as it works for us here in person. So we're looking for people to help with the Zoom. We're looking for people to mind the door. We do have to watch the door. The synagogue has some security rules that we have to deal with. And also do the collection, do the announcements. If you would like to be up here and facilitate as I've been doing today, we can give you a script to do that and train you how to do that. So please step forward. You can reach me at operations@unityontheriver.org or on our website, or our board at board15@unityontheriver.org. So right now, emails are working a little bit better than the phones. We have a virtual office now, and the physical phone is actually sitting in a box, but the phone number should still work. So I'll be working on making sure that happens next week when I have a little more time. So do let us know if you'd like to help, and look forward to the community meeting next week. At this point, I think Keith wants to say a word.
Thank you, Stan. So thank you, everybody. Happy Sunday again. And so just a little bit about next week. So once again, this is about not what the church can do for you. We're having people come with ideas about what they can do for the church, for the community. Several members of the church have spoken to me over the last couple of weeks. We have a lot of great ideas brewing, which will be presented on things and activities to come up to help build and restore the community. So anybody that you see here that knows other folks that you don't see here, if you have their phone numbers, call them this week to let them know about this community meeting coming. And it's a great week to be here. Shipley's going to be back speaking with us, so come on down. Thank you.
Will there be prizes?
Everybody gets a new.
I was told there'd be prizes.
Prizes, the new.
Shipley's here. There she is. You're hiding. There's a reason for the sunlit sky, and there's a reason why I'm feeling so high. Must be the season when those love lights shine all around us. So let that feeling grab you deep inside and send you reeling where your love can't hide, and then go stealing through the moonlit night with your lover. Let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show, and you'll know what I mean. It's the season. Let your love fly like a bird on a wing, and let your love bind you to all living things, and let your love shine, and you'll know what I mean. That's the reason. There's a reason for the warm, sweet nights, and there's a reason for the candlelight, with the season when those love lights shine all around us. So let that wonder take you into space and lay you under its loving embrace. Feel the thunder as it warms your face. You can't hold back. Let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show, and you'll know what I mean. It's the season. Let your love fly like a bird on a wing, and let your love bind you all living things, and let your love shine, and you'll know what I mean. That's the reason. Take one, Keith. smallest of dreams, let your love show. And you'll know what I mean, it's a season. Let your love fly like a bird on a wing, and let your love bind you to all living things, and let your love shine. And you'll know what I mean, that's the reason. One more. Oh, let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show. And you'll know what I mean, it's a season. Let your love fly like a bird on a wing, and let your love bind you to all living things, and let your love shine. And you'll know what I mean, that's the reason. So good to have him back.
Thank you, Brian. That was great. Thanks,
Well.
everyone, for being here.
I think it's time for our peace song.
It is.
And then Sherry will lead us in the prayer of protection.
Stephanie,
Oh, Stephanie will? Oh,
I
good.
will join you.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And we are
Richly blessed.
There's a reason for the sunshine sky. There's a reason why I'm feeling so high. Must be the season when those love lights shine all around us. So let that feeling grab you deep inside and send you reeling where love can't hide, and go stealing through the moonlit nights with your lover. And let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show. And you'll know what I mean, it's the season. Let your love fly like a bird on a wing, and let your love bind you all living things, and let your love shine. And you'll know what I mean, that's the reason. and you'll know what I mean. That's the reason. Nice job, everybody.
Yeah, that was great. Likewise. Om Sweet Om. I just follow the singer. That's what I do.
No, it's always a big mistake.
You want to do it again? Yeah. Let's just do it.
Yeah, just,
John says that's a big mistake. Don't follow the singer.
no. Oh, we already did like blues and C's. I didn't think for the offertory.